You are so indelibly connected with the Superman world. I wonder how you feel about the Superman world now. There's another movie coming out next year.
They come out every freaking year. Don't they?
They do. They do.
And or Batman.
Right, with different Superman.
Yeah,
and different,
how do you keep it straight?
I was going to say, do you keep it straight? Do you keep abreast of the
No,
Supermans?
I don't. I've done my time. That's it.
Welcome to Salon Talks. I am Mary Elizabeth Williams, and this lovely lady next to me is Annette O'Toole. You know her from so many things. She is an actress and an Oscar-nominated songwriter. Not too shabby, Annette.
Couldn't get nominated for acting, so I went another way.
You know what? You snuck in, but that's how you get those EGOTs. That's how you do it, is you have to be a Renaissance woman like you. You know her from Cat People of 48 Hours. Of course, we know her as Lana Lang from Superman 3 and Martha Kent for all those years on Smallville. But now you probably know her best as Hope McCrae in Netflix's long-running hit Virgin River, back for a new season. Welcome.
Thank you.
Let's talk about your character. Like everybody on Virgin River has really been through it. It's really, if you're on that show, if you live in that town, man, you're gonna go through it. But when we meet you now, this new season, you're in a kind of different place.
Yeah.
Things are different. Tell me about where we meet Hope now.
Well, she's in the best place she's been, like you say, since the very beginning. No more traumatic brain injury, because you never fully get over that. And I had a little issue with that because, I thought, this is quick for her to be so recovered, especially at her age. You don't recover as quickly. But they really wanted her back in, kind of being, in the town and in everybody's business like she's been. So I've had to deal with that. And sometimes I play a scene with a splitting headache and people don't even know, but I know, so that makes sense. But it's a short season, so it only takes, I think, 3.5 weeks to get from the beginning of season 6 to the end and to the culmination of the big wedding. So there's not enough time really for her to get into too much trouble, but she gets into some. She and Doc have a little issue about, not a little, it's kind of a big issue about something, but it doesn't last long. So, the show, this season is really about getting our two lovebirds together, and we do it, and the whole town's behind it. It's kind of nice to see this community not having to deal with so much trauma for once.
There's still
some trauma. It's Virgin.
you gotta still have some trauma, but it is a different. There's a different tone this season.
There is. I don't know if it'll last. Who knows? We'll see what's in store for season 7.
Well, I know how this season ends, and I think there's gonna be more. There's gonna be more trauma ahead. That's as much as we can say. So tell me about, what was it, when you were first approached about this show, what was it that drew you to it? Because you seem to be pretty selective in the things you do.
I don't know if I am or not. I think I've been really lucky, and I've tried not to repeat myself too much, and I've been, and like you say, I can do musical stuff, and as you get older, more actresses just say, I don't want to do this anymore. And if you just kind of stick in there, you get some parts. So that's what happened. But Sue Tenney, who is our original writer and showrunner, called me, and I knew that Tim was involved. I think they had already cast Tim, and I knew that if it was something Tim was in, that it was something I wanted to be in, because I've worked with Tim, known him a long time. And I just loved the idea of it. I wasn't crazy about going to Vancouver again, but who knew if it was going to be successful? It could have been a 1-season thing, 10 episodes and you're out. So it's like my friend John Glover says, it's the golden handcuffs. You get to be on this great show and do fun work, but you're also away from your family. But it's only like 4 months of the year. So listen, I have nothing to complain about. I'm very, very excited to be part of it.
And you talk about Tim Matheson. You've been playing a married couple for 50 years now? Almost
Pretty
50
much,
years?
I think
first time was like 77, maybe?
Ooh, yes, I guess so. We played a married couple, then we played an engaged couple, and now we're a married couple again. So every other time we're not quite married.
Right. Well, there was a moment there was a period on the show where you were not quite married either.
Well, we've always been married.
Right.
We've never been officially divorced. People say, when are they going to get married again? They've never not been married since you've known them. They renewed their vows already. People say, when are you going to renew? We did that under a montage, so maybe you didn't quite figure it
People
out.
just really want to see the
I
whole
know.
the
It's
whole
sweet.
thing with you two, because the chemistry is 50 years still strong.
Yeah.
The other thing about this show I want to ask you is it resonates on so many levels with people. Were you surprised when it became the thing that it has become almost instantly, almost from the day it dropped?
I knew it was going to be. I knew it would do well. I had no idea it would do what it's done. Everywhere I go, I'm recognized, which is, and I've done some other things that were, years ago that were I was visible for, but this is something else, and people love it. I mean, they're genuinely happy to see me and excited to talk about the show, and there's not much I can say about it. It's like, yes, when you see it, that's what it is. We all look like we're having a good time. We are, and yeah, but they're just so involved. No, I could never have foreseen this, because it's very. My husband and I were watching we wanted to watch the new Beatles. Beatles 64 the other night. We said, we don't want to start it because it's too late, and now I have to go to New York, and when I come back, we'll start it. But we saw, he said, you want to watch the trailer? I said, yeah. So we watched the trailer, and he said, that phenomenon will never happen again. Something like that will we have our Taylor Swift and stuff like that, but that kind of world changing overnight. I remember I was in grade school when I heard about the Beatles. I went to school one morning, and suddenly people were like running in the hallway saying, the Beatles. I said, what's that? I thought they were talking about bugs were in the school or something. So anyway, I got way off the topic, but a show that becomes this popular with so many age groups and so many types of people all over the world, it's really interesting. It doesn't change my life, but I'm grateful for it. It sounds like I'll have a paycheck for a little bit longer.
Sounds good, right? I wonder also, because this is a show, I think recently we have seen how strongly people feel about their health care in this country.
Yes.
It has become blindingly real for a lot of people to have this conversation, and this is a show that also deals with that.
Yeah.
You see it from both sides. So many of the characters have been patients, have had medical emergencies. You also see it from the side of the providers and the frustrations they have. Do you think that's an element of it as well, that people connect with it on that level of like sickness, injury, dealing with doctors?
I hadn't thought of that. I've never occurred to me that was something people, I guess so. I was just thinking that it was the drama and the love and the, all the stuff that happens and the beautiful scenery, but you're right. I think maybe that is an issue that people are interested in, that, and maybe now after people see season 6 and see the end of it, they'll realize that going into season 7, I hope they pursue that more. I don't know, I haven't talked to the writers about what they're doing, but I really do hope they pursue that, because I think especially for my character and for Tim's character, it's something we can really delve into that's important. Thank you for bringing that up.
Well, without giving anything away, yes, you set up that there will be some examinations of the healthcare industry to come as well. There's a moment in this season where a character talks to you about the lengths you go for love. And he's speaking to your character. But
Who says that? Do you remember?
I do.
Who?
I do. Doc tells you that.
Oh, Doc, okay.
Okay.
I don't watch that. I don't. I'm sorry.
You move on.
People get mad at me for not watching it, but I can't. I can't watch myself, and I've already done it. It doesn't help me to go back and look at it. It's like we can't. Well, we can look at this someday, but normally in your day, you see somebody and you have a conversation, you can't go back and look at it. But actors can do that, or directors and writers. But it's not fair, and I just feel like I've kind of seen myself on film enough, so. Anyway, thank you for reminding me.
Okay,
yes,
so it's a beautiful scene.
It was Tim.
It's a beautiful, lovely scene, and it made me think.
Oh, now I remember, okay.
Okay, it's later in the season, but it's a lovely moment. But it feels like that could apply to you as well, because you have gone to lengths for love. You stepped away from this very successful show, and you did it for love. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. Well, it was during COVID, and it was right at the beginning of COVID, and we were getting ready to go back for season 3. And I'm in LA, and it's like getting closer and closer to time, and I'm thinking, what am I gonna do? My mother's now 99, so then she was, 96 or 5. And what scared me was there was no vaccine. Canada was extremely strict about it, which good for them. So I was afraid about getting to Vancouver and not being able to come home, or getting sick up there and having to stay, and not so much being sick and being alone with that, but being separated and not knowing when I could get home and nobody could come up and be together. So, and Michael, my husband, was just beside, I thought he was gonna have a heart attack. He was so worried about my going. He was completely, I've never seen him that upset. Well, maybe that, yes, I've seen him that upset actually. But he was as upset as I've ever seen him. And finally, they said, okay, we gotta make flight arrangements for you. And he and I just sat, I can see it. He was sitting over by the bed. I'm sitting on the floor, as I sit on the floor all the time, sitting on the floor of our bedroom. And we're just like I'm like this. And I finally said, he's talking about my going and being separate, all this stuff. And I said, I don't have to go. And he said, yes, you do. You've got a contract. You have to go. And I said, no, no, no. This is an act of God, if there ever was one, this thing that we're dealing with. And we have no idea what it is. We didn't know how it was communicated. We didn't know anything then. This is like early March of 2000. 2020, thank you. I get 9/11 in there mixed up. So I said, I don't think I can do it. So I called Sue and told her, and it was really hard, and I felt so like I was letting everybody down, but I thought, I'm always the one there. I'm always the one who's right there on time, and I thought, this is something else. This is a life thing, choice. And it's really about my family. 9/11 is very connected to me because I was in Vancouver when 9/11 happened. I'd flown up the day before it happened. All airports were closed. So maybe it was like a sense memory thing of, I get chills now thinking about it. So she said, oh, I thought they were gonna fire me. The show wasn't, it hadn't quite hit the way it would after that season, or the airing of season 2, which hadn't happened. Blah, 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 who cares? Anyway, I didn't go. And she was kind enough and Netflix was nice enough to want me to stay present in the show. So they couldn't even send a crew to my house. But my daughter is very savvy with camera, and she can do anything on a set. She's a set decorator now, but she's been everything. So she came over and filmed 4 scenes on my phone. Monica Mitchell was the director for one of them, and she did a location shoot through my house. We walked through the entire house, and she said it was supposed to be North Carolina or South Carolina after a hurricane. So I have this one wall where some ivy was taken down and just ripped all the paint off. It was horrible. I said, this show is perfect. So you look out that window and see that, and it was hard, but it was weird not to be involved in something, but I was glad I was still kind of in it.
And then you got to come back.
Yeah.
And this is not the first time you have walked away from a big thing as well.
What did I walk away from?
Well, it's a little show called Smallville.
Oh, right, yeah. I didn't walk away, though.
Okay, but you stepped back after 6 seasons, maybe?
Yeah, well, I finished my contract.
Yeah.
I signed on for 6, I did 6. And then I came back for a couple of guest star things, or 3 or 4, I can't remember. But, it was year to year. Who knew how long it was going to go? I felt my character had done everything she was going to do, and more. I mean, they were grasping at straws trying to keep me in this show. And it was lovely. It was really fun. The best thing for me that came out of that was my friendship with John Glover. We would go on the plane back and forth together all the time because we were both commuting from LA. My kids were in high school, and his husband was back here, and we were constantly on the plane together. So that's where we became really close.
And I saw a clip of you talking on the Talkville podcast about your biggest regret about that show.
What was it? I don't remember. I tend not to think about things too much.
It was your biggest regret. It had to do with Christopher Reeve.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah, well, that wasn't, yeah. I never understood it. And I should have picked up a phone and called the producers and said, what are you thinking? You've got the prior Lana Lang and Superman. Why aren't you putting them in a scene together? it kind of broke my heart. It was kind of like, if they don't see, I'm not going to tell them, if they don't understand. And it's like, yeah, and so who's regretting it? Not them. Because I knew it would be the last time I'd ever get to see Chris. So, yeah, I'm very sad about that.
And you are so indelibly connected with the Superman world. You in two different ways. You're two iconic characters, not just one, Annette. Nobody else can say that. I wonder how you feel about the Superman world now. There's another movie coming out next year.
They come out every freaking year, don't they? Oh my God.
They do. They do.
And or Batman.
Right, with different Superman.
Yeah,
and different,
how do you keep it straight?
I was going to say, do you keep it straight? Do you keep abreast of the
No,
Supermans?
I don't. I've done my time. That's it.
You know what? That's fair. All right, I want to ask you, because you were, as we said earlier, you're not just an actor. You were also a songwriter. I want to get into, you mentioned 9/11, how you wound up becoming, you and your spouse becoming Oscar-nominated songwriters.
Well, right after that event, I drove back. I couldn't get a flight back from Vancouver, so I drove back, and I almost made it in one trip, but I didn't. I left at 4 or 5 in the morning in this rental car, and I had to stop in Reading because I couldn't see anymore, and I was so upset anyway. So I finally got home the next day, and I had gotten permission from the unit production manager. I said, "You're not going to need me, right?" He said, No, we're not going to need you for at least 4 days. I said, "I'm going home, I'm driving." He said, "Okay." I get home, the second I get home, they call me and say, "We need you tomorrow." I said, "You gave me permission to come home. I told you I was driving. I can't get a flight. I can't even charter a flight. You're going to have to wait 2 days." I was so mad. I don't do this, I'm always the good girl, and I show up and do my job, but this was really maddening. So Michael and he said, "Well, okay, I'll come with you." So we turned around and drove back, and in between Portland and Seattle, I had this melody in my head that I couldn't get out of my head. And I said, "Am I making this up, or is this something old?" Because he knows every song ever written. So I hummed it to him, and he said, "I think you're making that up." So we started putting little lyrics to it, just lyrics to hold it so we would remember. Because it's 2001. We didn't have recording devices on our phones and all that stuff. So we were trying to remember it till we got to a hotel or to Vancouver. So potatoes in the paddy wagon, blah, blah. I said, "Yeah, but potato's got to be a girl, and it's got to be about that's her nickname." And so we just started making up this stupid song. We got there, we recorded it on something, and we realized that he was writing music for A Mighty Wind with Chris Guest and Eugene Levy and everybody else who was in the movie. And so he said, "I think this might work. Let's send it to Chris." So he sent it to Chris, and Chris loved it. He said, "Yeah, that'll work for the New Main Street Singers." And he asked Michael, "Would you like to write this song that's kind of the signature song? And all it has to do, it's for Mitch and Mickey, and it has to have a kiss in it. You have to mention kiss in the song." And Michael told me about that. He said, "You want to write it with me?" I said, "Sure." So when we finally both got home, we sat down at the piano and wrote it in an hour, and finished it on the walk with the dog. But so about an hour and a half. But it's kind of based on us, and as are a lot of our songs. And then he wrote a lot of music for that movie, but the Faraway, which is the sea shanty, written by the music was written by C.J. Vanston, who is the musical genius who does all the Spinal Tap stuff and all Chris's movies. So he had this melody, and so we had a Patrick O'Brien book we took off the shelf and looked up every nautical term we could see. We threw it in the song. It was really fun. So,
and there you have it. And that's how you get an Oscar nomination.
Well, it has to be a good song. The thing about the song, though, was Chris, when we first sang it for Chris, he said, I don't think this will work. It's too good. It's like a real song. And it is. And we felt like that's why it worked. And Jamie Lee Curtis was there and said, "No, that's the song." So I think her little nudge helped.
Thank you, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Thank you, Jamie Lee, for taking wedding pictures for us, too.
And she took your wedding pictures. Oh, my God. Yeah. Oh, my God. Annette O'Toole, what a pleasure to talk to
Well,
you. What a
thank
fun time.
you.
The new season, I binged my way through the whole thing.
Did you really?
I really did.
Oh my
I
God.
really, really did. I had to get to that wedding, man. I had to get to that.
Was it everything you hoped for?
Yeah,
good.
And lots of twists and turns.
Since I won't get to see it,
and lots of
I'm
twists.
depending on you.
All right, Annette O'Toole, I can promise you, maybe you won't watch Virgin, but the rest of us will.
Well, good.
And
That's
come
what
back-
I want.
Come back
I
anytime.
would be happy to.
Thank you.
Mary Elizabeth.
Thank you for watching Salon Talks. If you had a good time, why not subscribe right over here so you can get more conversations with your favorite artists, actors, directors, writers, comedians, musicians, politicians, everybody you love, and I love too. And while you're here, why not watch another video right now?